Hi everybody, my name is Stacy Zaransky and I would like to welcome you this evening. I hope that everyone is enjoying the food and the complimentary glasses of champagne, and like Ray said, please help yourselves to the food and the cash bar. There is still so much food that we would hate to see go to waste. So again, just please help yourselves during the program. My name is Stacy Zaransky and I am the president of the Breast Cancer Innovation Foundation, and I am also one of the proud sponsors for this fine event. I am so thankful and so very grateful that all of you are here this evening to spend the evening with us. And I just want to say, I know that everybody's time is very precious, and we all have families and work and jobs, and we're caregivers and family members to others. So I just want to say how much I appreciate that you are taking time out of your very busy schedule to be here with us this evening. We greatly appreciate it. So many of you have attended this annual fundraising event in the past, so you know some of what we are trying to accomplish. And I thank you again for attending again this year. Some of you may be attending for the first time, and we thank you so much for being here to learn about how you can make a difference with the research taking place to help breast cancer patients across the country. Tonight we will hear stories of support from survivors' family members. We will also learn about the amazing research being done right here in our very own backyard of Akron, Ohio, at the University of Akron. As you listen to the stories of support, I encourage you, and I also challenge you, to think about how this evening could turn into your own very story of support. I would like to ask the question before we get started, what if? What if? What if the research being done by Dr. Puskas and all of the amazing people in her lab was changing lives right now in the hospitals as treatment for breast cancer patients, instead of waiting for funding to move into clinical trials, which is kind of where we are at right now at this stage of the game? What if the research and medical technology in the lab at the University of Akron could have actually been used to treat the breast cancer survivors who we will learn and hear about tonight when they come up and speak about their stories of support? What if everyone here tonight could make a difference in the lives of breast cancer patients everywhere? So again, I ask you to please consider the question in your own life of what if. As you look around the room, you may see attendees who are wearing a pink flower. These wonderful people wearing the pink flowers are breast cancer survivors. At this time, I would like to honor all the breast cancer survivors who are here with us this evening. Dear survivors, would you please stand up and let us allow us to honor you, because we are so grateful that you are here with us this evening. Thank you so much to all of these survivors who are here this evening, and we honor you and we thank you for being an inspiration to the research being done at the University of Akron, and for the inspiration that you are giving this foundation. Now I would like to take this time to introduce you to our honorary MC and Master of Ceremony for this evening's event, Mr. Ray Horner. Ray has been the morning show host on 1590 WAKR for over 11 years. He is a strong voice for community discourse and programming in Akron. Ray is active in local scholastic, sports, and civic organizations. Ray and his family live in Wadsworth, Ohio. He has been a friend of the foundation and was kind enough to interview Dr. Puskas on his morning show program several times over the last few months to try to promote her research and the event for this evening. We are honored to have him here this evening, and we thank him for the radio spots he has done and we are so happy to welcome him. Please give him a warm welcome as he comes to the podium to have the event for this evening.
Well, you know, this is my first time here at the event, so I'm kind of excited about it. I'd like to thank Stacy and Dr. Puskas for inviting me to be part of the event. My family, yeah, we live out in Wadsworth. I have twin girls that are 7. I have an adult girl who is 23, and I have a son who plays sports who is 16. So I won't be retiring for quite some time. But the only reason I bring that up about the family, because Stacy mentioned about the family, is I mentioned to my 7-year-old twins today on the way out the door, got them off the bus, and they said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to be the master of ceremonies for an event, and we're talking about research and survival in fighting breast cancer." And they looked at me and they said, "Dad, you got to have a pink suit on." I said, "Well, I don't have one." Their names are Ava and Gia. And I said, "I don't have one." They said, "Well, we got our pictures tomorrow. We're going to get our dresses tonight. We'll get you one." So if I'm invited back next year, I may have a pink suit on. Well, listen, now welcome everyone, and thank you for coming tonight. Something amazing is happening in our town here in Akron, and it's not just for women. Anyone touched by cancer, men or women, will want to know about this, so please listen carefully and help spread the word of what we're going to talk about tonight. Started over 10 years ago with the inspiration and heartfelt desire of a local professor to help those stricken with breast cancer. Her research turned a corner, resulting in a pioneering approach to the treatment of breast cancer and a safer breast implant. We are talking about Dr. Judy Puskas and her research group at the University of Akron, who have worked on the innovative treatment to annihilate breast cancer cells directly. A targeted delivery method to treat breast cancer tumors has been developed to seek out and kill only the breast cancer cells, leaving healthy cells undisturbed. This is a revolutionary alternative to the current systematic chemotherapy and the horrible side effects of the chemo. We're not only talking about breast cancer research, though, and in the end result of it, why we do not, and that's why we're raising funds here this evening and right now. In order to move this research forward, Dr. Puskas and her group need to compete in the final stages of lab research in order to begin clinical studies at the Cleveland Clinic. This year, the Breast Cancer Innovation Foundation's mission is to meet the $100,000 goal required to move this breast cancer treatment out of the laboratory into the hospital clinical studies and ultimately to the patients sooner rather than later. At the 2016 annual fundraising event for the Breast Cancer Innovation Foundation, $30,000 was raised towards this goal. But your help is needed to reach our target goal of $100,000. The money raised here tonight will go directly towards the research being done to help move Dr. Puskas' research out of the lab and into the clinical trials at the Cleveland Clinic. I'd like to thank our major sponsors this evening. Our major sponsors for this evening include Wells Fargo Advisors, J&G Consulting, Olivia Rush Designs, Stacy Zaransky, Wealth Advisor and owner of Beacon Wealth Consultants. Because of the donations of these sponsors, again, all money raised tonight will go directly to the research being done by Dr. Puskas and her team at the University of Akron, and will move the research from the clinical trials at the Cleveland Clinic. As Stacy mentioned, I've had Dr. Puskas on my morning show, WAKR 1590, Monday through Friday, 6 to 10. I know that sounds horrible, but it is one listener at a time. But Dr. Puskas has been on my show a number of times in the mornings, and I first got wind of this and reading about some of the accolades that Dr. Puskas and her research and certainly the development is getting worldwide. And this is really exciting, and it's being done right here in the Akron area. For our annual event tonight, we're fortunate to have 3 courageous local guests here to share their personal stories of support. Bob Bothel, Carol Nolan, Maya Gaich, each have a story on how they have supported their loved ones' challenges throughout their treatment and the journey to becoming a breast cancer survivor. We also have Dr. Gordon McLennan, who was on the Radiology and Bioengineering staff of the Cleveland Clinic Foundation, who will share with us his perspective of support for Dr. Puskas' research development and why moving forward is critical. Dr. Puskas herself will speak to the research she and her team have been conducting right here in the Akron area. We'll now move forward with our guest speaker portion of the program. As Stacy mentioned earlier, we encourage you to listen to the words and of those courageous family members and our stories of support. And as Stacy mentioned, the phrase tonight is, what if? And she put that very well. So now let me bring up our first supporter, survivor's husband, Bob Bothel. Bob is a retired senior federal employee, former director of Europe for U.S. University, father of one, stepfather of two, grandparent of four, but most importantly, husband of a breast cancer survivor. Thank you, Bob, and for speaking with us this evening. Come on up.
Well, I'm the luckiest man alive. I'm married to a breast cancer survivor. Now, hopefully you'll understand that by the time I'm finished speaking. And I'm hitting my stopwatch right now. Because I have a hard time with time. I need to tell you up front, I'm not a medical researcher, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just a spouse who lives with a breast cancer survivor. And so what I want to talk about is kind of in three sections tonight. First, I want to give a little background because we are definitely unique, Toby and I. Toby, stand up. That's my bride. I want to talk about what I've learned about living with this breast cancer survivor. And then I want to talk about why research is important and give you a first-hand example of why it's important and why you should open up your pocketbooks. So, first things first. Toby and I was not married to Toby when she had breast cancer. I came along after the fact, which is part of the uniqueness. Both Toby and I had long, successful careers, well known in our fields. We both had long, unsuccessful marriages. And neither of us wanted to get married again. But for me, after a few years, I said, you know what? I'm kind of lonely. And so I did the unthinkable. I went online. Toby and I met online. And I had a checklist of what I was looking for. Breast cancer wasn't one of them. But I wanted someone that I could talk to, someone that we had common interests, common education, all that. So I come across her profile and I went check, 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 check. Everything I wanted on my actual, real, physical list, she hit. So I reached out, and thank God she reached back. And so we started talking. And at some point, we both realized, she was in D.C., and by then I was in Ohio. So it was long distance, never laid eyes on each other. We both realized something cool was happening. So we were Skyping. And she dropped this little bombshell on me. Well, Bob, I need to tell you something. I had breast cancer. And I had a mastectomy. And I did not have reconstruction. Honest to God, the first thought that went through my mind was, thank God you're alive. Because I was already hooked. So, fast forwarding, I've learned a lot. And I've learned, one of the things that I've thought about And if you don't agree with me, fine, I'm just a spouse, okay? But I started wondering, through all the people, lots of breast cancer survivors, some of which are here, that I have met because of what Toby does and dragon boat paddling, which I kid now that I've got one wife and about 100 girlfriends. I'm surrounded by survivors of breast cancer. And they're unique, they're funny. And I started thinking, what is so unique about breast cancer as compared to other forms of cancer? Why is it so much more emotional? And this is the Bob Bothel perspective. No woman has a relationship with her kidney, okay, or her liver. Every woman has a relationship with her breasts. They play a unique role in life. Think about this. As a little girl, you desire it to be like mom. Then all of a sudden, you get them. And you realize, boys like them. Then you use them as the first feeding station for your children. And then they're a place of comfort when someone's hurting in your family and you lay them on your breast. And then, blah, blah, blah. You go through stages, of which you have 0 stages with your liver. So, why? And so, when a woman gets her diagnosis of breast cancer, it's like, oh my God. Even more so, my theory, than other forms of cancer. And I've learned that being married to a breast cancer survivor, there's a few things that you have to live with. One, every single day, breast cancer is part of your thought process. Every single day. You talk about it. I've learned a whole new language. I didn't know anything about tumor markers and blah, nothing. And now I know a lot. I've learned that if you ever meet a medical doctor or a nurse or someone that says, oh, you're past your 5-year mark, you don't have anything to worry about, run like hell. Because they don't know what they're talking about. And you don't want them as your provider. Every single woman on Toby's 2 dragon boat teams, one in DC and here, know women who were well past their 5-year magic number that got a reoccurrence and passed away from it. I've learned that you need, as a spouse, I sometimes get a little annoyed at how much time she spends with her dragon boat team and her duties as the president of the Dragon Dream Team and scheduling her life around practice. But I wouldn't have it any other way. So being married to a breast cancer survivor has enriched greatly my life. And we have very open conversations about breast cancer. We know that it's important that for Toby that she continues to monitor things and keep her appointments and don't let the doctors back down on their monitoring, but to keep them focused on you. So why is research important? Well, wouldn't it be great if someday we didn't have a Dragon Dream Team because there were no more breast cancer survivors? I mean, wouldn't that be great? Toby, although she did not participate in a clinical trial during her chemo and radiation. She did participate in a clinical trial for post, and stuff about bones, and she can explain it, okay? But that would not have happened had there not been the lab work that goes into, that eventually, hopefully, becomes part of a clinical study. Nothing that happens today didn't go through some form of lab work, clinical study, and then practice. So we haven't solved breast cancer. People still get breast cancer. People still die from breast cancer. But that will change as more and more and more research takes place. And guess what? I'm smart enough to know research takes money. So supporting tonight Dr. Puskas' research makes all the sense in the world, because it could lead towards not needing a dragon boat, all breast cancer survivor thing. And I'm not stretching it. And I know that every one of the women on these teams would love to eventually not have a team, because there were no more breast cancer patients. So it's been my honor to be married to a breast cancer survivor, and I mean that with all my heart. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob, for the story of support, and great meeting Toby here. Wonderful words. The only part I didn't kind of like was I have twin 7-year-olds. Let's keep the boys away from that part of the... It's coming whether I want it or not, isn't it? Now I would like to invite our next guest, and that is Carol Nolan, to speak to us. Carol is the sister of Judy, Nolan, Akins. Throughout their lives, the two have celebrated each other's triumphs, as well as locking arms together to overcome adversity, and the most challenging being Judy's 2.5-year battle with breast cancer that began in 2012. Let's welcome Carol to the stage with us.
Thank you. Bob's a tough act to follow, so I will do my best. And set your timer. I think I'm like right at the 7-minute mark, so you all blow a whistle or something when I get there. So I'm Judy's sister, and I think we can all agree that relationships with our siblings are complex. And there is no doubt that being a caregiver to any patient is tough. It's challenging. So being a caregiver to a patient who is your sister is tough. But it has an extra layer of complexity that makes it a little bit more complicated. So it's not a job that you apply for, it's one that's just suddenly thrust on you. But I think any sister in this room would agree it's one that you would just embrace and you would accept without hesitation, but without training also. So my job was that I was a Senior National Account Manager for EyeMed Vision Care. I know a whole lot about eye health and vision insurance, so if you want to chat afterwards, that's my expertise. I knew nothing about breast cancer, except for what you see on the news or what I read in the pamphlets sitting in the waiting room for my routine mammogram. But all that changed in April 2012. Thinking back on it now, I think everything that I needed to know to be a caregiver to my sister, I actually learned from my parents at a really young age. My mom was the eternal optimist. She was so positive and so strong, and she would get up at 6 a.m. and she'd have a smile on her face and she'd be whistling show tunes, which was so irritating when you were a kid. But she was one of those no nonsense, spoke, you always knew where you stood with her. She didn't mince any words. So she's just that person that you always knew what she was thinking. you know, if we would fall or we'd be outside playing and we'd get hurt, we'd come in the house and she would be that mom who would say, you look fine. Get back out there, get tough, go back out there and play. And I was okay with that. My dad, on the other hand, was a little bit more tender-hearted and he showed a little bit more emotion. But he was strong too. So we learned a lot of strength from an early age. They both had such a joy and excitement about life that they passed on to us. My dad's mantra for life was, go for the gusto. And that was a motto that I embraced wholeheartedly. And as a teenager, that led me to some risky and regrettable decisions. But I always had to pay the price for it. My sister, on the other hand, Judy, she just always made the right choices, and she, you know, she didn't get into the same trouble that I did, but I was always up for an adventure. So I traveled the majority of the time for my job back then. I'm since retired, which is just awesome.
Yes, it is.
But back then I traveled all the time. When I wasn't on the road, I had an office in my home and I worked from home. And so family and friends knew during office hours not to call me or not to come over. So that one afternoon in April when Judy showed up at my home and I opened my door and I saw the look on her face, I knew something was terribly wrong. So she explained to me that she hadn't wanted to worry any of us, but she had had an abnormal mammogram. And then that day was a follow-up visit for an ultrasound, and that ultrasound revealed what they assumed to be cancer. So her next step then was to visit a surgeon for a biopsy, and that was scheduled for 2 days later. Ironically, I thought, on Good Friday. So on Good Friday, I took Judy to meet with Dr. Williams, and I knew we would do the biopsy. In my mind, I figured it was going to be lots of conversation and lots of discussion about what could potentially be there and what we would have to do. But that wasn't the case at all, because really early in the exam, Dr. Williams and his wisdom and his 40 years experience knew exactly what we were dealing with. And in a no-nonsense, straight-to-the-point way, which Judy and I were familiar with and appreciated, actually, Dr. Williams said that he saw several masses, and yes, that Judy had breast cancer. So that April afternoon, that Good Friday, was day one. That marked day one of a 2.5-year process for us that included 9 surgeries and really long and painful recoveries from those surgeries, and life would never be the same. So Judy moved into my house during the first part of that process. And then after the first surgery, my family room became our medical treatment center, our bedroom, our kitchen, our diner, our sanctuary, our conversation corner, our visitor reception area. That was a family room. I figured out my role as we went along because, like Bob said, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a technician. We were just kind of stumbling along. Some days we'd cry and some days we'd laugh, just like sisters do. So we learned far more about surgery and what happens after surgery and about cancer than you ever want to know. I was nurse at that point without the training, orderly, I was caretaker, I was counselor, I was chauffeur, lawyer, liaison, problem solver, all those things that you become and all those hats that you wear willingly when you're a caregiver. But I found that the biggest challenge for me was really finding that balance for Judy in between being the sympathetic, tender-hearted caregiver, or the one that said, you're gonna be fine, get up and go outside and play your tough. So I did find that there was need for both of those messages at different times, just depending on what the day brought. But I worked really hard at keeping Judy positive. I didn't get up and whistle show tunes, I'll tell you that. But I did try and keep her from going to that dark place, which at times was really difficult for me because, honestly, my heart was breaking every day, just watching what she had to face every day. So that was tough. But I saw it all as a caregiver. I cannot imagine looking at you, Toby, looking at all you women. I can't even imagine. I'm wearing the pink flower, but I don't have the courage that you do. I can't even imagine what it's like, you know, to be the breast cancer patient. So I knew I could only take Judy so far. I could do all the things that were necessary in that stage. But through the process, we talked about how she was going to need somebody else, another group to connect with that had like experiences and that could actually, you know, light the path to lead the way to life after cancer. Because when you're in the midst of that, you don't see that. And I think my vision was just, how am I going to make her better? I have to make her better. And then I knew that that next step was for somebody else. So I kind of pictured that, you know, Judy would be sitting in a group, kind of like group therapy, and would be talking to people about cancer and, you know, what they had been through and the pain and all of that. And while I am sure that that is totally effective for some people, that ain't my sister. So we grew up in Portage Lakes. And we had often seen those legendary women in the pink dragon boats. And we knew a little bit of the history that somehow they were connected to cancer, but didn't quite know. So Judy did a lot of research and found what she needed to know about the Dragon Dream Team. And when she was physically and emotionally ready, she contacted them and she began to work out with this sisterhood of amazing women. So today, she's a member of the Dragon Boat team, and she paddles, and I'm so impressed with that. And she competes in the Dragon Boat races, and she shares the Boatloads of Hope message to new patients who have recently received a cancer diagnosis and are beginning their recovery journey. So about that same time, she also began working with the Breast Cancer Innovation Foundation, and she helped to raise awareness and funds for Dr. Puskas and her groundbreaking research. I have watched this life after cancer stage of Judy's journey with genuine respect and pride because she's going for the gusto. So I picture my support role. I need a Kleenex. I didn't plan on being emotional, I'm sorry, but as Bob says, this is an emotional disease. I picture my support as a caregiver like a rocket booster. Hang with me, I know this sounds crazy. But like a rocket booster. Do you remember the older people, the people my age in this room, do you remember in class? I mean, when there was a rocket launch, everything would stop and we would all sit and watch this. So I think you can relate to what I'm talking about. But the rocket booster, the function of the rocket booster is to give the spacecraft enough power to propel it in its first stage as it takes off from the Earth. Once it reaches a certain height and it can use its own power, that rocket runs out of fuel and it detaches and it falls to the Earth. And then somebody picks it up and they can use it on a future mission if they want to. So I think you can picture that, you know, just as I talked about how we watch it on TV. So that rocket goes up and then there is that time where it's strong enough and it's fast enough so that booster detaches and falls to Earth. And then that rocket soars into the beautiful and exciting unknown. So that was our journey. And I want to tell you, caregiving is tough. It's hard, it's frustrating, it's exhausting. But it is one of the greatest gifts that you can give to another human being. So it was an honor, one that I hope that we never have the need to go through again. But like the rocket booster, I've been recovered and I'm ready. If there's another mission, I'll step up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol, for sharing the story of support. And again, like we said earlier, what if Carol's sister Judy would have been able to receive the implants that Dr. Puskas' research has created, for sure. Our next story of support, we're going to bring up Maya Gaich. Maya is the supporter of her mom, Becky, who serves on the board of the foundation. Maya is a student at Woodridge High School and has a passion for helping others and promoting wellness. She'll now share with us her story of support. Maya?
Okay, first off, I have to say, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to be able to go after both of them, because those were some real great stories. When I was 3 years old, my mom had breast cancer. I had no idea what would happen, and that scared me a lot. I don't really remember it very well because, first off, I have a really bad memory, and secondly, I was really young. But I can remember one thing: the fear that my mom was gonna die. My parents, they weren't really people to kind of skirt around issues if I asked, so I didn't really suffer illusions about death. I was curious and I was determined, and usually my parents would eventually break when I gave them puppy dog eyes. But I remember no one could really tell me distinctly yes or no. There wasn't any real answer. I had to watch my mom go through chemo, and it worked, but it was disturbing. Not knowing anything was the worst part. I visited my mom after every surgery, and I hoped nothing had gone wrong. I don't really remember it well, but I know that I would sleep next to my mom on the hospital bed. I was small enough to fit with her. I ate some of the cafeteria food she didn't like. My mom once told me a story about when I was visiting her. I had brought along 2 stuffed animals and was playing with them. She asked what was going on, and I told her. One of them had gotten sick, and the other one was trying to make sure it didn't really die. The entire course of her sickness went sort of like that. I would be there with her, anxious, afraid. I had to watch my mom lose her hair, her strength, get sicker and sicker. If you see my mom, she used to have really long, bright red hair. I don't remember it very well. And when it grew back, it was more of a brown color and not as long and thick. And all of it, the fear, there was worry. I saw my mom falling apart. When I was 7, my mom had breast cancer again. I was older. This wasn't as serious of a case, but it was still terrifying. I knew she would be fine, but there was a part of me that kept wondering, kept thinking, what if her luck had run out? As you can see, she survived both times, perfectly fine except for the sickness from her treatment, but it still made me wonder, and I know not everybody is lucky enough to have their loved ones survive, but I'm glad I didn't lose my mom.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Maya, and what a brave young lady to walk on up here and walk us through the support of her mom during the challenging illness for sure. So again, I ask you, and we ask you to ponder the question of what if. What if Dr. Puskas' research was already available to Maya's mom at the time of her battle with breast cancer? Great stories of support this evening. Each is extremely inspirational, and we commend Bob and Carol and Maya for their courage coming up there and the courage to be there at their side for their loved ones' battle with the disease. We wanted to be able to share real-life examples this evening and real-world experiences of the stories of support that these survivors and their loved ones have had to go through. And again, what if everyone involved could have experienced Dr. Puskas' innovations during their treatment and healing from breast cancer? At this point, we still have a couple of presentations and a couple more speakers coming your way, including Dr. McLennan and Dr. Puskas herself, but we're going to do the live auction right now. And before we do that, I've been asked to remind everyone we do have some silent auction items that did not get bid on. So if you would like to jump back there and bid on those, look at that, very quickly we get out there. You can go ahead and do that as we speak, okay? So I'm going to do my best to be an auctioneer. If someone wants to help me, Stacy, well, you're welcome to come on up and help me find the people. Anna, come on up here. Come on. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we have 4 live auction items, okay? And we'll do the bidding for these items, and then we'll move on to the second half of our program for you. And the first auction item is live auction number 1, and this is garden essentials and a goodies package valued at about $400. Suzanne Jardin Garden Design. It includes a large garden design consultation at your home or business with a master gardener and the owner of Suzanne Jardin Garden Designs. And also you get Akron's finest mulch for your garden, quality product with quality service at a quality price. So this is a $400 value for you. Remember, these dollars go to this research from Dr. Puskas. We would like to start the auction bidding on this at $150. So $150 for this garden essentials and goodies package. There's $150. Do we see $200? $200 on the gardening package. We have $150. Do we see 2 anywhere? 200 right there, wonderful. $250. $250 on the package. $250, there we go. $300 on the package. Wonderful gardens, mulching, looks wonderful.
You're doing good, Ray. Good job.
I've never done this before. I've done a lot of things in 36 years, but I haven't been an auctioneer. Okay, going, where were we at? 250 to 300. 250 going once. Up, there's 300. 300. 300, 350, 350. 400? No. 350 going once. Twice. Sold right there. $350. Item number 1. Next, and this sounds pretty special, chicken paprikash dinner for 6, cooked by Professor Judy Puskas and served at her house by her PhD students. The menu includes Hungarian spread and sausages and pickles and chicken paprikash and cucumber salad. Dessert is poppy seed and walnut rolls. You have wine, red and white. Sounds really wonderful. It's valued at about $600. All right, we're going to start the bidding at $250. $250 for an evening with a good doctor. $250. Okay, there's $250. All right. $300. We got $250 looking for $300. $250. $300 right here. Oh, wonderful. $350. Anyone for $350? $350. $400. $400. $450. $450. I like this. $500. 500? No. 450 going once, twice, right over there, $450. Live auction number 3 is the Toth Buick GMC gift certificate. Indulge yourself and your car, valued at around $1,000. It's a package weekend, and it includes the use of a new Buick or GMC, complete detailing of your vehicle, interior, exterior protection package, lube, oil, and filter. We'll start at $200. Again, the total value, they say, $987. We'll start at $200 on this. 200 right there. 250. 250 for this. We got 200. Anyone for 250? 250. 300. 300. There we go. 350. We have 300. 350 for anyone? 300 going once. 300 going twice. 300 right here. Okay, that brings us, and by the way, you can see they're filling up the final silent auction items. This is our final live auction, and right after we get done with this, we'll start the second half of the program, so if you can do that. But this live auction item is very nice. We get a Firestone Country Club golf package on the North Course. Retail value $1,250. It's a round of golf for 4 with carts on the North Course for the 2018 golf season, donated by the Firestone Country Club there. So wonderful package. We're going to start this at $500. We'll start this at $500. Golf for 4 on the North Course, $500. Right there, $500. 550, 550. Golf for 4 on the North Course. We have 500.
We have 550.
550 right here. Looking for 600. Valued at $1,250. There you go, 600. 650. No. 600. There we go, 650. 700. No, we got 650. 650 going once. 650 twice. And sold right here for $650. Thank you, everyone else. And remember, these dollars here tonight are so special and needed for the research. Wonderful, and thank you very much for participating in the process, closing that gap of the goal of $100,000. Next, please allow me to introduce Dr. Gordon McLennan. Dr. McLennan is on the Radiology and Bioengineering staff at Cleveland Clinic Foundation, has over 10 years of experience in cancer drug release research. He will explain why the research of Dr. Puskas is so promising for cancer diagnosis and treatment. Let's have a nice round of applause for Dr. McLennan, who's took time to join us today.
Well, thank you very much for the kind invitation. And you know, as I heard our stories at the beginning of this program, it occurs to me that these are the stories that we're all hoping for. I have one to add to that, and this was my introduction to breast cancer in my field, because I'm an interventional radiologist. And what we do is use the radiology to do treatments so that you don't have to have open surgery, you don't have to have debilitating recoveries from your therapies. So in our liver clinic, where I treat a lot of liver cancer, a 35-year-old woman showed up in 2011 with about a 3-month history of diagnosis of ductal breast cancer. And unlike breast cancer confined to the breast, she already had a softball-sized tumor in her liver. And the question was, what do we do with this? We do a lot of directed therapy in interventional radiology. All of the drugs that we work on to try to develop and radioactive particles that we develop, we can get into the liver, into other parts of the body by using the arteries as the pipes to get there. So radioembolization is a treatment that's very common right now for liver cancer, not so common for breast cancer. And when I discussed it with her and her oncologist and the transplant surgeon who was willing to actually resect that lobe of her liver after we had treated it, I scratched my head and said, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. What if this works? And so radioembolization is a 2-day procedure. You come in one day, you come in 2 weeks later after we've ordered the dose. We plan everything out. Everything's an outpatient procedure. You basically leave with a Band-Aid in the groin. And the worst complication is about half the patients feel a little bit tired that a steroid dose pack will take care of for the first week. But otherwise, you're totally functional and normal after this kind of a treatment. And we did this, and I said, okay, it won't hurt. So she had her radioembolization and finished her course of chemotherapy, and about a month after that, the resection was done and delivered to the pathology department, in which they could not find cancer in the liver. So it's been 6.5 years. She had her last follow-up scans today, and I asked her this morning if I could share this story, and she said yes, of course. And to this day, her father and her credit me with saving her life, and you know, I'm grateful to that, but it's really a team effort. It's her oncologists, it's the surgeons, it's the nurses that take care of you in the hospital, and it's the scientists that help develop the agents that we can deliver into the body. You know, radioactive yttrium microspheres were developed by 2 companies, one in Canada and one in Australia, and that was designed by somebody who decided that they thought this highly radioactive beta particle that only stays in the tissue and kills the tissue where it is would work. And that took 10 years to develop. The drugs that Dr. Puskas is working on in her laboratory are the kinds of drugs that I have been trying to develop for delivery into the arteries to treat many, many types of cancers. We have been working together on drugs that can target the outer linings of the cells, of the tumor cells, and deliver a chemotherapy agent, and deliver something that we can see on a PET scan or an MRI, and be able to track where the drug goes and where the tumor cells are. We're finding in medicine these days, we're coming up with agents that modulate the immune system, agents that modulate the pathways that cause cells to die. And the work in our laboratory, I'm a hobbyist in molecular biology, basically. I've been doing research 40% of my time for 20 years. And it's mostly been looking at molecular biology and what happens in animals that bear cancers. So the combination of our work allows me to get drugs that I can test for better therapies, but it also allows Dr. Puskas to have an opportunity to demonstrate effectiveness of the chemicals and agents that she's creating. And it allows us to work together to redesign these agents so that they're better and better and better. And I will tell you that the work that we do is geared towards all of you, because I get to sit down with you across the table every time you come in for a follow-up visit, and I want to know that you're no longer bearing that cancer and that your likelihood of survival is as close to back to normal as possible. That's my goal as a physician. That's my goal as an interventional radiologist, is to do that by giving you a treatment that is as tolerable as possible. And it's the work that I do in the laboratory with scientists like Dr. Puskas that allows me to develop treatments that will be more effective, less costly, and keep you out of the hospital as long as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. McLennan, for helping us understand more clearly about the research, and certainly it's important. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Dr. Judy Puskas herself. Dr. Puskas, Professor of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering at the University of Akron. The groundbreaking research related to the treatment of breast cancer and breast reconstruction surgery she is conducting is amazing, and we're happy that she can share it with us this evening. Let's bring up Dr. Judy Puskas this evening.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. And you know, I wrote a speech for today, but I don't think I'm going to do this speech after what I heard, because what is really amazing, you know, to see you here, especially all the survivors, because, you know, no matter how much empathy we have, unless you experience breast cancer, you just don't know what it is. So we can't, you know, we can't put ourselves into the shoes of the survivors. But, you know, I started my career as a scientist. I was trained in Hungary, and then I ended up in Canada, then came to the United States, and was working on, you know, all kinds of research, including rubber research. That's why I ended up in Akron. But then I started to work, you know, I wanted to do research in something that it makes a difference in people's lives. And this is how I started to work on this cancer treatment. And, you know, my role is to figure out the agents that we can basically deliver to people, you know, with the help of the Cleveland Clinic and Dr. McLennan, and we can show that they are more effective with less side effects. Now, I would like to thank my students. Please, my students, please stand up. My students and co-workers. Because they are the ones who are, you know, working daily in the lab, and they have to endure. You know, sometimes I go after them that you know, you have to work more, you have to be more effective. But I think what is important for us that we see this, you know, we see the community support. That is very, very important, and this is really what keeps me alive, because, you know, it's very tough to be a woman in a field where almost everybody else is a man. So it's very tough. But the community support is very important, and really, you know, we need money to try all these new compounds. We have now altogether 5 compounds at the Cleveland Clinic, and we will find out in about 2 weeks which one is the best. And then we can make that and hopefully do the animal studies. You know, as I said, those all cost money, so it's better to have them sooner than later, and then we can move hopefully into clinical trials if we are able to demonstrate that you know, our compounds are better than others. And I have a poster outside as you are walking out. If you have any questions, I have some pictures so I can show this to you. And what else I wanted to say that you know, the Breast Cancer Innovation Foundation, Stacy, the president and the board. Again, I would like the board to stand up, please. Thank you very much, and this includes my husband. And please, we need more men on the board, please. He is the only man, and I'm always telling him that. When he's sitting with the, 10 females talking around, and I said, see, this is how I feel when I am with my colleagues, all the guys. So really, this is very, very important. And again, thank you for your support, and this means a lot to me. And I don't know what else to say. So. Please, I will keep up. I will work very hard, and these meetings always carry me through another year, because we have some ups and downs as everybody else, and this always lifts me up, and thank you for the support. So, and one more thing, I will. You can see this. This is basically this polymer fiber mat. Actually, you can see an interview with Channel 19 about the research, and this is the fiber mat that we would like to put the drugs in. and if possible, put it directly on the implant, and that would deliver the drugs, and it would have a smaller dose and less side effects. So you can pass it around if you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Puskas, for the dedication, perseverance, and certainly the job you and your staff doing in the lab for us. So the recap this evening is certainly courageous family members telling their stories of support here tonight. We've heard from Dr. McLennan and, of course, Dr. Puskas herself. However, the event would not be complete if we did not take the time to honor our award winners who are making a difference in the lives of those with breast cancer. I'd like to bring up Stacy Zoransky, president of the Breast Cancer Innovation Foundation, one of our sponsors of the event, and please come back to the podium to give the presentation of this year's Pink Gardenia Awards.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for everything that you've done tonight, for the silent auction items, the live auction items. I'd like to give a big shout out to Tank back there in the back for serving us tonight. He's awesome. I think next year he needs to do the live auction. He can be our auctioneer. I am already recruiting him for that, so be ready for that for next year, Tank. But tonight would not be, we cannot leave here this evening without honoring two very important people. One is an organization and the other is an individual, and this has now become the Breast Cancer Innovation Foundation Pink Gardenia Awards. These awards honor those outstanding supporters who are making a difference in the fight to cure breast cancer while helping and encouraging those affected by the disease. And each year, the foundation honors one organization and also one individual who is making a difference. Our first award goes to the organization that is making such a difference in the lives of so many. And last year, this honor was given to the Dragon Dreamboat team, which I love so much, and they are all, there's a ton of them here tonight supporting the event. But tonight, we are going to honor for the organization Stewart's Caring Place. And many of you may know of this organization. Stewart's Caring Place is a cancer wellness center with the mission to provide a caring, relaxed environment offering supportive services and programs for individuals and families on their cancer journey. And here to accept the award this evening for the Pink Gardenia Award for Outstanding Organization is Stephanie Davis Derringer, Director of Programs and Operations for Stewart's Caring Place. So I'd like to have her come up and accept the award, please.
Thank you. Wow, we are absolutely honored to receive this award in the community. And a lot of people ask, what does Stewart's Caring Place do? Well, I will tell you, we are that backbone when that husband has to stand up in front of their wife and be able to support her day after day as she goes through treatment and beyond. We are that hand that that 3-year-old or 7-year-old or that beautiful young woman holds, as sometimes they might not know what mom is going through, and we're there to help make it a little bit more bearable or a little bit easier. We are that rocket booster behind that caregiver that sometimes they might not need a little break or a little boosting themselves to continue to get up one more day to make sure that their sister is able to smile. So we are those that we are so blessed and so honored to be here and receive that award, because we do get to work with all of the families, all of the faces of our participants, and see them continue on their journey of hope, and it's an inspiration for us to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I am so happy that you were able to be here tonight to accept the award. And I love how her comments are just kind of bringing all of this evening all together. Like everything seems to be fitting together, just like the perfect puzzle that's coming together to make that big picture. And what I'd like to do now is bring up a very important person who I have been honored to be friends with. And she will be receiving the award this evening for individual. And I would like to introduce you to Laura Alio. She is just an amazing person that I have come to know over the last 4 to 5 years since she moved from out of the area into the Akron area. And I am so glad that she is here this evening with us. So the next Pink Gardenia Award goes to her, and she is making an amazing difference in the lives of so many because of her personal triumphs. As easy as it is to hide during a cancer diagnosis, Laura Alio has been vocal about her disease and treatment from the very beginning. Diagnosed just after her 32nd birthday and 6 months after having her first child, Laura never thought that cancer would affect her at this young of an age until it did. Since being diagnosed, Laura and her family have been adamant that the cross they are bearing right now is for a purpose, and that is that they are making a difference in the lives of other breast cancer patients, their caregivers, and families. I am honored to present this award to an amazing woman, Laura Alio. Please give a round of applause to my friend and honoree today. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Hi everyone. I just wrote a little something. So thanks, Stacy, and thank you to the Breast Cancer Innovation Foundation for its work that it's doing on behalf of all of us who are affected and who will be affected by breast cancer. As Stacy said, I was diagnosed right after my 32nd birthday. My grandmother had breast cancer at 42. She's still alive. And yeah, I knew I was BRCA negative due to genetic testing my father had completed, and therefore I considered myself relatively healthy. And I never thought that this could happen to me. Before I go on, though, I just wanted to echo what everyone's saying today, and I'd like my husband, Michael, and my son, James, to come up here with me. So you might have heard him a little bit in the background. Stacy said we could have an upfront table. I know, but he would have been kind of distracting. So I wanted to call them up here today because I don't feel right accepting this award without them by my side. We are receiving this award because of our weekly Facebook Live videos that we have done since my original diagnosis in April. We have taken our watchers through the boring, the emotional, the fun, and the awful experiences of what it's like to be diagnosed with breast cancer. We have spoken and tried to raise awareness through the platform of Susan G. Komen and also through local television and national and local blogs. However, it has been as a team, and without the support of additional family in the community, like my father and my mother-in-law, this would never have occurred. My husband has never left my side since day one. Words such as, "This is our life," "This is our future," "This is our diagnosis," "You are beautiful," have helped me through a really emotional time. As Stacy said, I was diagnosed 6 months postpartum. Let me tell you, being pregnant, then breastfeeding, and then finding out you're going into menopause really wreaks havoc on your emotions. I was diagnosed with stage 2B triple negative cancer, meaning that my receptor sites are negative. And I did have a localized lymph node involvement after having all my scans. And it just means that I was given quite the chemotherapy regimen to make sure that it killed off any little stragglers that may have been left behind. I just would not have been able to have the positive attitude and been so forthright if it had not been for this little chunk by my side each night, and my husband telling me that he preferred me without my wig versus wearing it, or that he didn't assist with every, yeah, exactly. He'd always like, take it off, you look so much more beautiful, with, we'd call it my bald egg noggin. Or if he didn't assist me with every single aspect of raising our child and taking care of our home while carrying on a full-time job. So with that, I just want to say that 1/3 of individuals will get cancer. 1/3, 1 in 3. Therefore, we always state that you're either going to have it or you're going to be the caregiver. Maybe it won't be in your early 30s like for us, but we need to come together to understand how to address cancer in all of its forms. Specifically for breast cancer, it's affecting more and more individuals on a daily basis. Northeast Ohio has atrocious statistics for mortality because so many women catch their cancer when it's stage 4. It's atrocious, like if you look at the statistics. And stage 4 means it has spread outside the breast. You all can make a difference tonight by, 1, making sure that if it does run in your family, get your genetic testing done. You either have the BRCA gene or you do not. There is no excuse not to get your genetic testing done. 2, you need to do thorough self-exams. We're telling everyone on the 18th of every month for the 1 in 8 women that are diagnosed with breast cancer. I found mine through self-exams. And then 3, if you're old enough, getting your mammogram and understanding if you have dense breasts, what that means for you, and asking those questions. This should be a goal for all of us and all of you too, as a majority of breast cancers are not hereditary. And I repeat that, it is not hereditary. They really can happen to anyone. And we welcome you to follow our journey on Facebook. We keep our videos public, and by watching these, we do hope to provide insight into a time when many people opt to be silent. So with that, thank you for everyone for supporting this cause tonight. I know I'm like the final part of it. And when you drive home tonight, just take a look at your block, because every few houses will have a woman or a man who has been diagnosed or will have breast cancer at one point in their lives. And not any cancer, but breast cancer. This is just not acceptable. The treatment is available for many who catch it in time, but it's painful and it is hard. And many women are not fortunate to have a wonderful husband, a wonderful in-laws, a wonderful family, and a wonderful son to support them every single day. And as my doctors tell me, a cure is coming very, very soon. But it isn't without everyone pulling together and supporting this cause. Michael and my goal is for James, that he will not have to worry about breast cancer in his family's. We're almost done, James. So please help to make this possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you so much. Thank you, James. And I would like to just end this evening by thanking you once again for being here to spend your evening with us. We hope that we've inspired you and that it makes you think a little bit more about what research is out there and what if you could make a difference. If you haven't been able to participate in the live auction tonight, or you didn't do a silent auction item donation, there are envelopes on your table. If you'd like to, if you're moved to leave just a cash gift, we would be honored to have that. And you can leave it in the basket on your way out. There's a pink ribbon on that on your way out. But other than that, I would just like to say thank you once again. Thank you to all the speakers who took time out of their busy lives to be able to share their stories with us. And thank you to all of you for being here this evening. Thank you again.